we're live with Reality Hub one more time. It's episode 4. Rob's next to me, and it's a particularly sweaty day in Auckland. How are you, Rob?
Well, I'm loving the heat because I'm a summer person.
I'm a winter person.
Yes, you are.
I
The
like
contrasting
the cold.
expressions of nature.
When we come together, the universe is complete.
The balance of life.
Our friends, spring and autumn, join us occasionally.
So yeah, good to be back.
That was
Good to be
deeply
back.
profound.
It was a good, deep and profound
Ah.
opening to the show.
Such a great idea. You know what we should do with that?
What?
Oh, we should put it on social media.
What a good thing to do.
I mean, I'm
'cause
so
everything's
deep,
on-
I'm so profound.
Well, speaking of social media,
Yeah.
everything's on social media, right?
Well,
much.
I
Our whole
mean, only
lives.
my true life is on social media.
Well, what are you saying? Your true life?
Well,
You
because
have an
I want
ultra
people,
life?
I want people to know I'm deep and profound.
Mm.
So I only put deep and profound things on. It's all bullshit, isn't it? Bullshit. Yeah,
In a way, it is.
that's what we're
One
talking
could-
about today, folks.
Yeah. This is a
The
big
reality
topic.
of social media.
This is a juicy one. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while because, and here's the thing, right?
Tell me a thing.
Steve and I, right? We grew up in a world without social media as such, in terms of the social media that we're used to accessible on our smartphones, right?
That's right.
This is true, right?
My man, it used to be important to go and get a printed copy of the newspaper on the weekends
Mm.
in the world I lived in.
So for all you listeners out there who don't know what that is like, well, we do. And I tell you something.
Well, we do.
We do, yeah. And it's interesting because it was all about, where did you access your information? We didn't have Google. We didn't have Wikipedia, right? Where did we learn about fashion, the arts, about music? Well, in my personal experience, I had to wait on a fanzine from America that would come to me every month to get the latest news on my favorite artist at the time, which was Bruce Springsteen, right?
Really?
And I really look forward to that. Okay, you'd get information from radio and TV for sure, but it wasn't accessed instantly and you had control over it. If you wanted to learn something, you went to the library. Do you remember those days where you had to read a book or find a magazine or even better, talk to someone?
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone who was...
When was the last time you did that?
Well, I'm doing it right now.
Oh.
But connect with someone, right?
Yeah,
Especially someone on the topic. So if you want, I remember when I started my venture into the gym world and I was becoming a trainer as such, you would learn from the other person. You'd practical experience, and yeah, obviously there were books, but there's nothing actually beat practical real world experience. But now you can open up an app and follow your program. Now you can open up a YouTube video and learn how to, etc., etc. So that is
Certainly
our
some
topic.
advantages to that. Right? Certainly, I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad for the
absolutely.
things that that the world has brought us in terms of the internet and social media advantages and benefits. But boy, I think the reality of social media can't just talk about the great things, and there are some great things, but it really has to touch on the bad things. And so I want to kick off with 24/7. The problem with 24/7.
Right. Yeah.
And so for me,
Good topic.
I went to I think of the kids these days who are on probably not Facebook as much, maybe Instagram, and the new thing I believe is TikTok.
Excuse me, what's that?
It's like a Facebook or whatever, I think.
TikTok?
It's called TikTok. Look,
Okay, I haven't heard of that
I know
one.
nothing about it. It's just another social media as far
right.
as I'm concerned, but
Yep.
it's just another thing. And there have been other things, right? There's been the Vines and the
MySpace. Do you remember MySpace?
yeah. I'm very active on MySpace. I've got a lot of fans on no. And that's the thing.
I remember having a MySpace
Did you have one?
account and how it was exciting because you built the profile, didn't you? And I guess it didn't work for whatever reason. Better things came along. But yeah, I do remember MySpace. You just reminded
And
me.
MySpace is a really good example of how fleeting these things can be, of how you can be really big on one platform one day and it has a sudden decline. That's really interesting, something that you've got to look out for.
Yeah. So because something like Facebook has actually been around for a long time.
Yeah, and they're smart enough at the height of their power to go and buy other things that are emerging.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next line of questioning.
Was it?
Why? Yeah. Well, why is Facebook still around and still
functioning.
And obviously Instagram, I think, has been around for a while as well.
Well, the only thing they can really do, or the only thing they really should do in terms of survival, is if something new and great comes out, is to buy it as quickly as you can, and that's how I think you stay on top.
Yeah.
But so in that regard, MySpace is gone. What's that other one? Snapchat and other things like that have their moments in the sun. They're popular, extremely popular for a while and go. I mean, even when you look at things like Viber and WhatsApp and
there's so many
things like that,
ways of communicating. There's so many apps that I get confused now. You're getting messages from WhatsApp, from Viber, from just your messaging, from your email. I mean, I'm sure there are other ones as well. On Insta you can message. On Facebook you can message.
So much so that your
incoming.
Your iPhone has a notification center so that you can actually
Please
deal with all your notifications. But this is what I'm talking about with 24/7.
Yeah.
Right. So I actually really feel for the kids these days. I hate saying
look,
because I'm down with the kids.
Well, let's be honest here. Who out there is constantly on their phone or constantly checking their phone?
Well, most people.
Yeah, most people. I'm out and about a lot, and I observe people, and their heads are down, and they're on the phone. Pretty much 90% of people I observe out in the world, in public, whether they're waiting at a bus stop, walking down the street, in their car, whatever they're doing. And that's just the way the world is. And we're just almost so connected and so attached to this device, right? And that's just the way the world has become through this means of technology. And you're right, we're contactable 24/7. And now I notice on a lot of the devices, they tell you your screen time. So they give you this notification weekly of how much screen time you've had. And you're looking at,
which is funny
9 hours a day.
Because what's interesting about that is that's, to me, some indication that someone in Silicon Valley has had a moral moment of, oh, geez, we're killing people. We really should let them know how much screen time they're having.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't otherwise be aware of how much they're having. Maybe it's an effort to it's kind of like the movie industry putting a rating on a movie. It's like the alcohol industry
exactly
putting a figure of how much you're consuming of alcohol in a bottle. Although they may be government mandated things ultimately, this is kind of that industry going, maybe we should get ahead of the curve here and go, hey, do you know you're spending this much time on this screen?
Yeah, and it actually shocked me when I started getting those notifications. Because I thought to myself, have I really been spending that long looking at the screen or having the phone open or whatever? So obviously I had, which...
Well, it doesn't help if your role or your job or your main source of income requires you to look at a screen as part of it.
That's
I
right.
look at it and I go, oh yeah, there's quite a lot. And then you can see the breakdown too. But can I go back to the 24/7 thing from the perspective of young folk? Because I look at the 24/7 nature of social media as a problem for people in their development stages of life, as much as it is a problem for people who should be beyond developing. Because I know we're all able to neurologically change. Even
Neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity, that's right.
Yeah.
Because even in our adult years, we can start to rewire in negative ways.
It is rewiring the brain.
But
I think it's rewiring how we connect
Well, these kids who maybe get bullied or abuse at school can't leave it behind if part of being in their social group is to be online.
Yeah.
Is to be on Facebook, is to be contactable on whatever social media they're using. And so they have no real way of disconnecting from it without also having to disconnect from being part of the scene. So because I went to a boarding school, and if you copped any shit, you would get it 24/7 because school didn't end at 3 o'clock and you went home.
Of course.
And so I look at social media today as the same kind of thing where it doesn't end. In fact, it probably ramps up after class. And so for people out there who've got kids who are at school and are having a tough time, well, unfortunately for them, I imagine the reality is that tough time continues on a psychological level with further attacks or abuse or whatever that they're going through at school, but now in the online space afterwards.
And there's
That's hard.
Yeah, and there's so much pressure at that age, obviously, to fit in, to belong. So you've got to have the cool Instagram profile, you've got to have the cool Facebook profile, etc., etc. And all the content on there has to be filtered and curated in such a way that represents, the cool side. I'm having, this amazing time. I'm living this amazing life. Don't you think? That we all do that, right? We all want to show the best version of ourselves, our ideal self, but not necessarily our true self.
I totally think. I think you're spot on. Everything online is curated so that we look at the cool life I'm living, look at the hip thing I've said, and
this
whilst it's tempting to occasionally throw something online that's cool or interesting, and I do, I've become more and more aware of not wanting to just simply participate at the lowest, dumbest level. I'd like to stop seeing people photographing food. I'm so over it.
Well, let's be straight up. There's a lot of bullshit out there.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of bullshit content and stuff, and we all get caught up in it. We all like to kind of look at what other people are into, and because it's interesting. It's part of being human, right?
Yeah.
But there is a lot of crap out there, and it's pretty hard to find genuine, real, honest kind of content where people are really sort of telling their truth. I think that's quite rare in that particular medium.
Well, online, I think one of the places that people are having the opportunity for long-form discussion and discussions of truth is the very one that you're listening to now.
Right.
Because podcasts are my go-to.
The reality of society, right?
Yeah, people couldn't believe that a podcast could be popular in a long-form state. It was always 22 minutes for a half-hour show. If it was longer than that, there would be no interest. Sound bites that are quick, totally curated and not genuine. And it's really interesting to me is I came to a place in my life where I found myself wanting to hear more interesting and in-depth conversations.
Yeah, cut through all the crap.
Do you know what I turned to at first before I got into podcasts? Talkback radio.
Right.
I would just occasionally tune into it. Yeah. And what I hated about that was usually it was a lot of people who were considerably older than me talking about and whining about life. And
back in my day.
And it was always the same people, and I wasn't always interested in hearing from this guy or that person who were the regular...
You get the regular people.
Callers. And to the extent that I wanted to find an interesting talkback host to listen to with interesting calls, and sometimes you'd get a glimpse of it, but it was just not quite enough for me to go, back to regular program music, which I was not... I love music, but... I reflect upon that being an interesting phase of my life of change, wanting to hear people have interesting conversations. Maybe as I'm getting older, it's that prehistoric thing of wanting to sit around the campfire with the adults, with the elders, and have in-depth conversations about life, the universe, and the meaning of existence.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it on whiny old talkback radio. Right. And I think that's another medium that we're going to see the death of. Just like we've watched the death of blockbuster video, as we see the death of certain industries who for a period of time were popular. And we're seeing news media dying, and we're seeing television companies being sold off because no one's really able to see a future for them. And the rise of podcasts, because you can actually choose where you want to be. And perhaps this is... I'm not saying podcasts are a social media, but this is a media in a sense that you get to tune in and your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah, and there is so much access to information. It's hard to filter through what's real and what's crap, what's bullshit. And I guess you could say that about anything, but I almost feel that social media is almost like the drug of now, the drug of choice, because you get that sort of dopamine hit when you get a notification, when you get a like, etc., right?
Yeah, you do.
It's stimulating.
You do.
We're talking about the whole rewiring of the brain.
I wish I was different, but I do. And I get sort of, is this something? Someone's contacting me. Yeah.
And so that almost makes you even more connected to your device, to the platforms, and etc., etc. So, far out. I feel like so much of that, it's almost like there's two lives. We have our real life, our day-to-day life that very few people kind of see, maybe our close friends and family or whoever we're open to revealing our true nature. And then we have this alter ego life where we have this platform where we have these profiles where we can get 10,000, 15,000, 100,000 likes, etc., and become influencers, right? Influencing people on their choice of what they consume and then you have this whole
What do you
connection
suppose
with
the desire to be an influencer is?
Well, it's a new form of branding and marketing.
It's new, right? But what is it most like of what we had before? I mean, who on earth wants to be an influencer?
You had famous people that were famous in whether they were sports people, athletes, or TV personalities, obviously the actors. They would associate themselves with brands and have commercials, right? But the trend now is if you have 10,000 followers, then you can influence what the content that you put on your Instagram feed, etc. Like if you align to that, then you're influencing people because you're giving your thoughts and. But it
used to be when you were an influencer, you actually had something of value to offer. It used to be when you were famous.
Yeah.
You did something which took a skill.
Yeah, you won a gold medal. Or
people were interested in you because of you and what you've achieved. So then you develop a fame. You could have been an actor, but you were good at acting, so you did good stories, say, or you could have been the athlete, and so you achieved.
You earned it.
You earned. So now all of a sudden we're asking, hey, what shirts are you wearing? Because I want to be like you. I mean, I think that's in a David Bowie song, "Ground Control to Major Tom," and then the newspaper men are asking what shirts you're wearing, and so then they become an influencer. And so in the good old days, fame followed achievement. Yeah. Now,
exactly,
we're just going straight to the influencer, which is what you became
Instafamous.
Yeah, Instafamous, and you're not actually famous for anything that's of any value.
No, because you can actually buy followers, generate followers via, just by buying them. So you didn't really earn them genuinely by the old-fashioned way. It's a bit like I think of a band that needed to, if they wanted to get a record deal back in the day, they had to gig around town and get a following and get a fan base and hopefully sign that record deal. But now, obviously, you've got these platforms like YouTube where you can get X number of views and then you become known and et cetera, and then reality TV shows, etc. But it's all about earning the right. Hey, I paid my dues, spent 5 years gigging and learning my craft, etc., and then broke through, right? I've just used that as a kind of an analogy.
So I agree with that, but I don't mind if someone becomes famous on YouTube because they've decided to put their songs on YouTube or their comedy on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean,
so you can still appreciate in a platform like YouTube what's good.
And people aren't stupid. If you have talent and you are a good singer and you're a great performer or whatever skill or talent you have, you're going to like that because you appreciate that and you admire that, right? Because you have that talent.
But I think what you were saying before expresses the virtue of hard work. If in the old days it took hard grind to get around, to tour the country, to take your traveling act, whatever.
You paid your dues.
So I can appreciate why you value that because that's actually speaks to who you are as a person that appreciates the value of hard work. On the other hand, this has got to be a positive with something like, say, YouTube. If you say to yourself, actually, I don't really want to be on the road, or I've got kids, or that life doesn't suit me. In fact, I don't even need to be famous, but what I need is to express my heartfelt soul urge of sitting there doing my song with my ukulele. And I'm just going to do that. Every weekend I'm going to put one out. I enjoy doing it. I like the angle or the take I have on the song that I've come up with that I've been working on. I'm going to put one out every week. Shout out to my friend Paul Gasper in Sydney who actually does that, and he's a wonderful performer, and for it appears to me no other reason than his joy and love of music. Every week,
right.
Paul grabs his ukulele and he's rather skilled at it. I've got to say, he's stunning to watch, and he does a song.
Yeah,
and he'll do a show tune or he'll do a contemporary song, maybe an Elton John, Yeah,
and he's sharing his magic, his music.
And the people on Facebook go, mate, this is lovely stuff. They comment, what beautiful music, always love seeing your face. And I think it's a really wonderful example of something positive expressed artistically.
Yeah.
And I enjoy seeing what he posts. Now, he might say, well, that's the path for me. I don't need to travel the country gigging. I have no interest. I'd rather sit here in my apartment and just do this. And that's cool. And if he would have become famous from that, he's certainly done his dues too. He's put in his time. He's learnt this instrument. He's had many years becoming an accomplished singer and performer and does a lot of things as well. And so in that regard, it's nice to know that in the modern era, you could be recognized for what you do without having to push out and do all those other things.
Yeah.
That's a nice option.
Because the playing field has changed, obviously.
Yeah,
you have access to these platforms, in particular YouTube.
YouTube.
That example there is perfect. Yeah. There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah. So, I mean, there were some great success stories based around the rise of YouTube in particular. And I mean, there is positives because it does connect you to the world. There are things that, I mean, the amount of times I've learnt stuff of how to do things via a YouTube video or accessing, I love watching, I love cars, so I love watching car reviews, and I find it very informative and very relaxing, actually. But there's just so much information there right at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And it's instant.
Well, actually, one of the ones that was really rewarding for me was watching a YouTube video on how to change out the RAM on a computer. How to, I knew how to do it on a computer, but I didn't know how to do it on that MacBook.
Yeah.
How to pull it apart safely and put it back together and fix something, change a hard drive or whatever. I had a broken Wi-Fi antenna once. I would have paid hundreds to fix that, and I did it myself. And it was really rewarding to have that sort of thing.
Sure, and it would be very rewarding for the person that posted that video to help other people, because often that's the case. They were stuck and they were in that predicament and go, well, I'm going to make a video on this, and so hopefully that'll help other people.
And I love that we have that now, but in truth, that example isn't really what we're talking about with social media, is it? Because it's the social media which is the cesspit of how we interact with each other in this anonymous way.
How are we connecting with people on a day-to-day basis? I came across a story where it was an office environment, and they have their like a daily meeting, and everyone's just on their phones. They're not actually sitting down eye to eye and going, hey Joe, how's the kids? Or, did you make it up north, on that long weekend? You're not actually, And then the meeting starts, they put their phones down, or, someone might be still on their phone doing something. They go through the meeting and then they leave. And it's kind of like just that example of, in the workplace, in that environment, we are disconnecting on a one-to-one level. And then you see that with people in cafes or out at restaurants and dinner. They're just sitting around drinking their coffee, but on their phones doing their messaging.
I mean, it happened last night.
Yeah.
We went to get some takeout food, and as I left the building, there were people waiting for their food, but just looking at their phone.
Yeah.
I get it, I do it, but I remarked to myself, I thought, in the old days, I thought,
what did we do?
You might have said hello to that person.
Well, I mean, when
that person waiting for food, you might have gone, hello.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah.
Because they were a human who was looking up from the ground.
And then on that note, it's being present in your immediate surroundings and environment, taking stuff in, right? It's going, hey, I'm present, I'm here, I'm not being not being distracted. My energy, my consciousness, my mind is not being devoted to the information or to this device. I have this rule, right, where when I train, where I have a workout, it's all about my connection to my body, right? So I don't take my phone at all. It doesn't even come with me. It's not on the gym floor. And I see all these people just in between sets or even while training on their phone, Instagramming, WhatsApp, whatever they're doing. And I just thought, man, that's, for me, this is my own personal opinion, because I do understand that if you're following a program, and a lot of trainers obviously have their programs, it's on your phone, that's fine.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, I'm old school. I have developed a connection to my physical being. So when I'm training, I'm fully present with what I'm doing. And for me, it's a dishonor if I disrespect that relationship with my body.
So much so, I think that when you're at the gym, I think you've said to me, you don't always like wanting to talk to people that you know there.
Yeah, because it's my time.
And there's a lot of people you know at the gym.
Yeah. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. If you feel like you are connecting one-on-one with someone, that's fine. But yeah, because I'm in
it's on
zone.
a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
And in any given moment, there might be people you really want to connect with.
Yeah, and I know people who put on the headphones because they don't want to be talked to, so they're listening to music and stuff like that. But yeah, that's one thing, being a former instructor and spending a lot of my time in gyms, how that's changed over time. And sometimes I get upset and it triggers me. I want to go, hey, are you here to work out? Are you here to honor your body, to achieve your goals? Or are you here to flippin' whatever you're doing on the phone? Throw that beep. But tell you what, if I owned a gym, if I was a gym instructor, I don't know, I'd be very, like, you come in here to train. You know? Yeah. So that's just my thing. Yeah.
Hey, do you want to share the story about a person you saw at the gym recently who was on her phone?
Oh yeah.
Or is that not appropriate?
I mean, it's pretty much just explained it. Where you either, this is just my philosophy. You've paid your money to have a gym membership, utilize it. It requires hard work. It requires dedication. It requires the fundamentals of training to achieve your goals. I just think if you're just spending all your time on the phone and not engaged, you're not being engaged with what you're doing, right? So if you're training your muscle, there's this mind-muscle connection. It's what all the bodybuilders know it. The strength any athlete will know this. There's a connection. You build this. It's a physiological connection. It's a mental connection. It's all those things. And if you're not engaged in that, then what are you doing in the gym? It's a bit like I don't know. I'm just going to think of an example. It's a bit like driving, and you're not fully aware of where you are and what you're doing, and you're being distracted by
texting whilst driving.
Yeah. It's when you really think about it, it's really stupid. You're in this machine that can hit a pedestrian. It can one moment of distraction and something can happen. If you had your full attention, right, then you're going to pick up on these things. You're going to be aware. It's all about that awareness.
Yeah.
And I know I watch a lot of car videos. There's so much technology in cars these days with the infotainment systems. It's just unreal. So it's no longer about driving. It's all about what tech you have in that car and what it can do. And it's crazy, man. But there's good old days, man, when you just had a stick shift and all you had was the speedo and the fuel gauge and the temperature gauge, and that was about it. Maybe a radio.
I have to say, this is one of the things I like about the Mazda philosophy, which is,
what is that, Steve?
Because I know you're not such a fan of the Mazdas, but their new vehicles, to their credit, I think you'd agree, is designed so that all of that infotainment stuff is less easily accessible whilst you're driving, in the sense that they have made the size of the screen smaller and not so easy for use whilst using the vehicle. And they had a scroll wheel, click wheel thing, so that you weren't reaching up to interface with the screen. You might do that by your side, but really they'd prefer you didn't. They'd prefer just drive. Said what you want when you start and go, which is pretty good on these long form podcasts. So you can actually do that. Set what you want to listen to and go for it. Whether it's a Reality Hub or a Joe Rogan, you can do that because they can go for a period of time. I want to talk about the reality of social media, being that if you're spending a lot of time, and you mentioned screen time, in your day-to-day existence, connecting with social media, then your reality is your social media, because whatever you participate in most often is the lasting record of your reality. I mean, if you believe that your life flashes before your eyes at your moment of death, and some people believe that. And some people believe that some of those woo-woo things, like, you review your Akashic records at the end of your incarnation, and or you get to look back over your life like it's a movie screen.
Sure.
You will find that your existence is you looking at social media. If most of your time was scrolling through pages on Instagram, that was your life. Your life wasn't, hey, look, I achieved this marathon, I set these goals, I climbed such and such a mountain, I did this with work, I did this in my career, I had this with my family. No, your life is often more than not, if you spend a lot of time on social media looking at other people's lives jealously and having an emotion about it or an experience or sharing it with something else, than actually living your life.
Yeah, you touched on that. We live in a society now with social media. You can now have access to whatever someone is doing, whatever they post. That's a certain reality that they're projecting, right? Could be a false reality, may not be a real reality. But you're buying into that, and then what happens is you start comparing your life, and then you start getting these feelings of frustration that, hey, my life is not that cool. I'm not doing those things. So it's this kind of what do you call it? Keeping up with the Joneses, right?
So that might be it. That might be well summed as in that moment having a feeling of jealousy. Or in that moment, a frustration or an anger.
Yeah. I don't have that success. I don't have that kind of lifestyle. I don't have that kind of clothes or beauty or whatever triggers you, whatever you feel you're lacking within your own being, you're going to see that reflected back on the social media side of things.
Yeah, that's right. Well, see, I think your life is less about the things that you did and more about the way that you felt.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I spent my life feeling
less than,
angry,
frustrated,
jealous, and I put myself in a comparative state and compared myself with others, if I didn't want to go out,
caring what people think,
yeah, and comparing and caring what they think, caring what they think too much. If I spent my time feeling that way, then the record of my life is time spent in that state.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you've gone out and achieved. Let's say you achieved what to the outer world seemed like great things.
Yeah.
Maybe you had a high-achieving role in a company, or you had a great car, and you appeared to achieve certain things or even doing things. Not just, I don't mean just having things.
Did it fulfill?
But if during the time of having or doing those things, you felt shitty or less than, or that you weren't good enough, then the record of your life is not, look at his things that he gathered. Your record of your life is how sad that he felt that way his entire life.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Entirely.
So when you look at the guy who's like, look at me and look at my Lamborghini, the record of his life when he dies is not, hey, look, I achieved a Lamborghini. It's more, oh, I felt so shit all the time I had to get one.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. On social media, I'll quote, this is cool, an AHA song, "The sun always shines on TV." Everything just looks amazing, right?
Yeah.
The sun always shines on TV.
Just like a curated Facebook feed.
Yeah. And often the happiest, the most successful people on social media are not that in real life, right?
Indeed.
And I've met people, and I know this for a fact. So I think be aware, don't just buy into it. Just really think about it and remember that everything that's posted on there, especially people you don't know in real life, that you don't have a relationship with, realize that they've created this profile. They've created that perfect moment or picture to capture to then share to the world. But it's not reality. Right?
No, it's been cropped,
it's not
filtered.
Reality.
Yeah.
I have this analogy where the map, I think I may have mentioned this before, but the map is not the reality. So if you're looking at a map of any location in the world, that's just a representation of that. So if you're looking at a map and you're going, hey, this is what Los Angeles looks like, and you're looking at a map. That's not what it looks like, just a representation. The only way to know what it looks like is to visit the city and be in it, and then you know what it looks like.
Which is a wonderful analogy. But it's actually completely true in another way. When you look at the map of the world and you look at Mercator's projection, which is one map maker's style of mapping the world, there are different projections of maps. It's like Greenland looks massive in the Mercator projection, but isn't as necessarily as big on a globe.
It's a representation. Someone's
Yeah. No, but you're right. That's a really nice analogy. If you want to know what LA looks like, actually spend time in it.
Yeah. You can only get so much from a book, learning a language or anything, in order to actually know the language or the culture of anything, any country, you need to actually immerse yourself in it and actually experience it. So I was using that analogy to differentiate between what you see on social media as opposed to, once again, real life. And
it's so funny you say this, because I think the cure to overuse of social media is real life.
It is.
And it's to actually get out and absorb yourself into the real world.
Yeah.
What I was saying before about, the collection of your life is the collection of experiences and feelings you had, as much as it may be the things you achieved and the effects you had on others. Your sense of your reality and your moment-to-moment existence is the feelings you have from moment to moment. And how that applies to social media is, if scrolling through that feed gives you feelings from moment to moment of jealousy, of frustration or whatever, that is your life.
Yeah,
that's become your life.
It's.
You look back on that half hour you spent on social media.
Sink in. Yeah,
you just spent a half hour on social media feeling shit.
That's
feeling
your
life.
Inadequate, feeling less than. Exactly.
Yeah.
And guess what, folks? Your reality is totally up to what you experience, what you feel.
Yeah.
This is a feeling. We've been given these amazing, extraordinary emotions and feelings and ability to live an expression. And if it's not, if you're feeling shit, then you're exactly right. That's the reality you're living. That's
the reality you're participating
And here's a good
in.
barometer. If you're doing that, and if you're not feeling uplifted or inspired, etc., then damn, you've got to take some time, take some step back and start going within and going, okay, why am I feeling this way? What is this reflecting back to me? And as you said before, stepping into the real world and facing the real world is, because I like to think that maybe the social media is a distraction from the real life, right?
I think it often is.
Yeah, my real life isn't that great, so I'll just immerse myself and distract myself with what other people are doing. Other people, I think I can distract myself from myself, because I can complain about the world and what's happening with and
escape.
It's all because of the social media, right? Everyone's got it better than me, and everyone's doing better. So, getting back to immersing yourself in the real world, and I've said this many times before on the show. I go into nature. For me, that is the best remedy. I just connect with nature, and that's how I do it, quite simply.
I got to tell you, I got sunburnt yesterday on a work golfing trip, as you can see from this pink complexion on my arm.
Love the sun.
Yeah, on my left arm, because the golfing carts are left-hand drive instead of right-hand drive.
Yeah, interesting. Normally you would think it'd be the right.
Exactly. We hardly touched on my right arm. And even on that golf course, and I'm not saying that people should go and sign up for a hoity-toity golf subscription.
Hoity-toity.
But I am saying, even out on that golf course in the middle of the city, Auckland's good like that. We've got nice green spaces even in the middle of the city. One Tree Hill's my favourite. But even there, just the fresh wind blowing through on grass, surrounded by trees, I got a lot more out of that than I did out of my comedy golf efforts. Because they were really funny to look at.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And it was neat to see people actually out doing a sport or an activity and not looking at their phones.
And, let's... not all is lost. I do see kids on their bikes playing, doing... Because we're lucky in this country that we have the parks and the facilities, etc. So I'm not saying that this generation is lost and they're going to be totally consumed by social media. I think, as with all things, it's balance, right? Because it's not going to go away. It's probably only going to get more. This is a good question. I don't know what it is, but who knows what the next evolution is going to be with social media, because technology is just rapidly moving so fast. But I think it is about balance, right? If you have a good balance, because social media is beneficial, it can help you in so many ways, but there's also, like everything in life, there's the contrast. And it's whatever relationship you have with that. So, but
that's
right.
Not all people say to you, social media is just bad. They're missing. They're missing the balanced approach to it, because it's not the reality of social media is the reality of anything in life. That balance is the key path to take. Limit your time on it, and use it wisely.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to don't let social media control you. Take that control back into your hands.
Yeah.
Right. So
a good way to think of it might be the things that actually, exist in life to get out and do, which are not scrolling on a screen through social media, but getting out and doing things.
Yeah.
Ironically, the things that on social media we would find interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that person's actually getting out and doing that dance class,
and
that
documenting
actually,
it.
and they've documented it, and you've had hey, great, I love what you're doing there, nice move, or and you've seen something or an activity, or someone's been at the markets and they've tried new food, or someone's out at a gig and YouTube was here last night, and they take a shot from the stadium, look at this sea of people. Awesome. Yeah. Maybe instead of looking at social media, you should be out doing those things too.
Exactly. And does it feed your soul? Do the things that feed your soul, right? And not necessarily that feeds your ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep.
So if it inspires you, if it helps you grow, if it makes you feel worthy, if it's all those good things, if that's whatever that is, do more of that in your life, and try not to be distracted by what other people are doing and feeling like you can't do that. Rather, you can be inspired by people that are successful in doing those things, but realize you have that within you, right?
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a saying, because I think we see people on social media and we look to see what people are doing, if they're successful, or what successful people do. For some people, others just look for distraction. But there was a saying that I heard said once, which was, become a millionaire, not for the money that it gives you, not for the millions, but become a millionaire for the person it will make of you.
Interesting.
See, because to achieve some goals, and this is why I go back to the value of that statement that I've shared with you before, and I think we've mentioned on some episodes. You're a spiritual being having a physical incarnation, as opposed to you're a physical being trying to have a spiritual existence.
You are spiritual.
Because so many people who
there's nothing more to attain, but you are growing and learning as a human being.
That's very hard to accept for some people, because some people on a spiritual path will have lofty ideas about what it means to be spiritual and their spiritual practices.
Yes.
And
I'm more spiritual because
they're going to ascend to the next dimension, to the fifth dimension.
It's all a program, isn't it?
It's all a program. And instead of accepting the wholeness of who you are in this
you
existence,
are already complete.
Yeah,
on that level.
And so what I often think of, some people who pursue spiritual pathways to the exclusion of physical existence, which may mean to the exclusion of daily exercise, good diet, good sleep, or even the physical things of life, like having enough financially to see you through for practical reasons,
Sure.
because they've just devoted themselves fully and utterly to spiritualism of some nature, some sort of form of abstinence or something, which they feel themselves to be, because that's a program.
Which
So
often serves a higher being or entity or or ideology or religion.
It's just
so
another
you're giving
way
your
of
power away again.
It's just another way of giving your power away
Yeah,
again.
you're serving. You've become subservient, which is not coming from an ego place where I'm better than. It's just you're giving. Be mindful or aware of who and what you are giving your energy to.
Certainly
and why.
not balanced.
And if you're doing it and feeling less than, then that's disempowering. It's that simple. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I like to remind people on those extreme spiritual paths that you are a spiritual being already, choosing now to have a physical existence, and the achievement that you should be looking for ultimate spiritual achievement is physical achievement. Because to master, like you've done so well, Rob, to master your body with regular daily exercise and that sort of thing, and the routine you've gotten into, is on the surface a physical thing, but is actually, don't you get it? That's the spiritual achievement. This is what these other people don't get, right? Is that to achieve things physically is actually a spiritual goal that you've ticked, because you're a spiritual being having a physical experience. Why would you then try to then denounce your physicality to go back to spirit? I mean, you may as well just go kill yourself to get back there now, because but that's wrong, because you chose to live in this existence if you subscribe to that belief, and therefore do everything you can in this plane of existence, in this world that we live in physically, to be your fullest self. Because that's why I say, be a millionaire, not for the millions, but for the person it will make of you. The discipline to achieve is a great thing, and done well, I think, could be very satisfying.
And the thing is, this reality, this life, whatever you want to call it, is designed exactly for that. Almost like the field of play, in order to have this human experience and what you would describe. It's all set up to do that, right?
With the duality of existence, with the opposites that exist.
So,
with
so
the
it's a
great
unique
wealth versus the
environment in
poverty.
order to have that experience. In order to, and of course, everyone's having their own unique experience. Your reality is what you're living, we're each having our own reality on some form, and that's why we have Reality Hub, because we like to talk about reality. And what reality are you creating and experiencing? Because ultimately, you're here, you're awake, you're conscious, you're having this experience, and it's delving deeper and finding your own truth. And for some people, you mentioned that, but for some people, it might be their journey to uncover that and to learn that. It depends whatever philosophy, whatever you subscribe to, belief system, etc. We're all running some sort of program, right? I think if you can at least get some awareness that you are running a program, and you start questioning that program and its relevancy, and if you get stuck on one program, then it sort of dismisses all the other options and ways of looking at things. So it's healthy.
Some people won't know what that means, getting stuck on a program. Do you want to unpack that a little?
Well, where you subscribe to one sort of belief or system or way of living, that's the only way.
What's
if that were the only way.
What's a good example of that?
I think you've got a few examples, haven't you?
Okay. No, all right. Veganism.
Yeah, anything. Anything that's got a label attached to it, a way, a style.
Any of the isms.
The only way to enlightenment or connection to spiritual self is by practicing yoga. There are billions of spiritual beings on this planet, or human beings. Each on their own paths and journey, and it's important, that you respect everyone's journey. And so if I'm having one particular expression of that and leading one particular way, it doesn't mean it's wrong or right. That's just the way I'm doing it, because someone next to me is maybe doing a completely other path, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
So the way is whatever the way you are currently embodying and expressing.
That's deep.
And and there is no right or wrong path. It's just the path you're on, and it can change, can evolve. People can disagree with that because they get really stuck with one way.
If it doesn't
one
change
form.
and evolve, if it doesn't, something's wrong. I think things need to be reconsidered all the time. If you are a person who isn't actually reflecting on whether what you decided was right in your 20s is still right now,
of course,
you're not an evolving human being.
Yeah.
We must reconsider all things we thought were real.
Yeah.
Values, systems, judgments.
Absolutely.
If you don't reconsider them as time goes by, as you evolve, as you change, as you learn new things.
You learn new things. There's more information available.
You're not achieving anything.
You're
stuck.
expanding, you're growing, you're developing. That's why when you're fresh out of the womb and a baby, you start growing and evolving, and then you have this process of development, and we're all at different levels of development as well. So some people are either on the path of seeking to develop themselves, or they have. I've always found that when someone goes through something like a trauma or something major in their life, they start reassessing things, right? Because it shakes up their belief system.
Yeah,
they're viewing the world one way, and then suddenly the rug gets pulled from under their feet, and they're going, what's going on? And so they get in this crisis mode, and they start reevaluating their life, the world, everything. A breakthrough moment.
Nice. That's deep. Let's go to a quick commercial break. And we're back. We don't really have commercials.
That wasn't really a commercial, was it? That was just our theme music.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good theme music. I like it.
It's an inspiring piece of music. Whenever I hear it, it's like,
yeah. Yeah, it helps that it's actually called inspiring.wave.
I can't remember. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's the file title. It's been a good episode.
Yeah.
I launched it on Rob at the beginning. I just started recording without giving him any warning.
Yeah.
And I think we've done rather well.
I think we have done rather well. Yeah, the reality of social media. So it's in our lives. It's useful. It connects people, but there's also obviously the negative aspects. If you get caught up with it, if it distracts you from your real self, if it makes you feel less than, all those things. But what else, Steve? Anything else to add on it?
I was just
think
thinking
we've covered everything.
I'm just thinking there's a great saying that you are enough. And to truly embody that. And I think I picked up that from one of the speakers from a Mindvalley video.
Shout out to Mindvalley.
Shout out to Mindvalley.
And shout out to my friend Jeanene, who hopefully we can get on the show, who's attended many of the Mindvalley seminars.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah. You just reminded me of Jeanene. Yeah.
And she was this particular lady, I remember, gave a great recounting as a psychologist and therapist about the way she treats people, and has a system which essentially treats people a lot faster than the usual methods they've used in the past. And it really comes down to one core value that she encourages people to examine first, and that is whether you consider yourself enough. And if you can say to yourself, you are enough, and I'm butchering this terribly, I'm going to leave it for you to find that Mindvalley video or that particular TED talk that she gave, and I can't even remember her name, but it's something I've gone on to remember for a long time and really had an effect on me, which is that you are enough just as you are. That's not to say you don't have goals and things you want to achieve and get to, but when you accept that you are enough, you can sometimes take off the edge of the desperation that drives you to do certain things, that come from a place of not feeling good enough.
Mm.
To tell yourself you are enough can, for some people, be quite a confronting thing. It can be an emotional
It can
thing.
be really confronting and challenging. Yeah.
Just to hear this could
Yeah.
make some people cringe if you're not comfortable with who you are as a person. If you think the idea of saying you are enough is just silly, or you reject it out of hand, I would encourage you to find it within yourself to accept the wholeness of your being, that you're here in this existence for a purpose. And despite how you might feel about how things have gone, if some people believe that everything that's happened up to this point has all happened for a purpose, and part of the existence you've participated in and become a part of for a reason, for your greater soul's purpose and existence. And to that end, you are enough, and you should feel that you're in exactly where you are meant to be right now. And if that helps people who are spending too much time scrolling through social media because they don't feel enough, well, then that's a good thing. And I hope it can make people go, I don't need to look at this right now. I need to look at myself and what I'm doing and know that I'm okay, I'm enough.
I really like that. Yeah, that's very profound. And as you say, it'll be difficult for some people to hear that, but more importantly, to believe it. They may actually think that other people are enough, that they're not good enough. They can believe it. They can be so good at believing in other people, but hey, what about you, right? You are enough as well.
A lot of people play second fiddle to other people.
Yeah.
Maybe they should just not, play in that orchestra at all.
Yeah.
They just play their own song.
Which reminds me, I just want to bring up very briefly Sean Croxton on his Instagram feed. He's got some really cool
from
videos.
Quote of the Day.
From Quote of the Day.
Quote of the Day podcast. Shout out to the Quote of the Day podcast.
Of the Day. With
They're
Sean
great.
Croxton. Yeah.
Highly recommend that podcast to anyone out there who's
absolutely.
enjoying what we're talking about.
Some really cool
inspirational
content,
stuff.
Inspiration. But one of the videos, well, there's actually 4 videos by a speaker called Bishop T.D. Jakes. I'll just leave you with one of his quotes, or what he said, which is basically what you're saying about you are enough. And he was just talking about social media and its influence, and just saying that, when you begin to take down these false, filtered, produced, synthetic imitations of life that we project to be real, you run into the beauty of saying, I'm okay, I am enough, flaws and all. So
that was off a recent episode of Quote of the Day, right?
Yeah. This is what T.D. Jakes mentioned in one of his speeches, and he's got some. I said I left a comment on Sean Croxton's Insta feed saying, "Man, there are some truth bombs there."
Yeah, and he got right back to you, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, because I just wanted to know who the speaker was.
No, really, he's a great guy. I listened to him for years on his Underground Wellness podcast through sort of around 2008, 2009, 2010. And I found him to be a real inspiration. And he did the long form podcast. Now he's doing, and he interviewed a lot of great speakers and specifically in the area of wellness and nutrition. But those are still available to check out. And so by all means, go check him out at SeanCroxton.com because we think he's great. It's not a paid plug.
No,
we just think he's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And we like sharing the stuff that inspires us and keeps us inspired.
So if we're going to say the word inspired that many times, we should probably leave on our inspiring music.
Indeed.
Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys.